Yeah, Edwin just asked on there, when do you use a limiter? And we were just saying, yeah, there's all kinds of uses for all this stuff. I think the idea really being that if you're after speed, and Edwin's an artist and producer, that a lot of times you don't want to be spending, when you're writing a song, you don't want to be spending 30 minutes getting the transient just right to get you're trying to get the excitement out. And so that's one of the places where, cool, strap on a limiter, get that level, go banging in the car.
Or pick a kick drum with the transient that you like.
Pick a kick. Yeah. So, and using these things where you use them quickly, but then when you're going to the mix stage, see if there's a better way to do that. And by understanding gain staging, how hard you're hitting the limiter, maybe you hit it about half as much, try some transient stuff. There's basically, the reason is to give yourself more tools to achieve this kind of stuff.
I love circumstances like today where, because I had my headroom dialed in and I understood what was happening, when someone asked me for something, a kick drum, a dB louder, and I know I'm already at my peak, like where I want that loudness to go, I was so set up that it was clear that note opened up Pandora's box and basically ruined the feel of the mix. And that triggered him to go, why don't we just turn everything down? And now it's a whole different mix. It's a whole different production in a sense. It grooves even more because I'm trying to maintain the rough mix. So I'm kind of leaving things the way that he had it because it's pretty dialed in. And now because of that move, we got to a mix that I think is better than even my match the rough vibe kind of mix too. Like, I think it got even better because the headroom issue made itself known quickly, which is super cool. And if you're not aware of that, then you're not going to capture that moment. That's a good luck moment. That's we both realized this. Well, let's fix it. And then all the fire emojis came after that, right? So you're like, oh yeah, well, we did something right.
Well, Alexander here asked a good question. It's sort of what I was talking about. When you're producing and the arrangement is changing a lot, how do you compensate for adding or taking away something? I think part of that answer is, don't be mixing straight into a limiter right away. Because when you're producing, you're adding things, you're changing things, you're basically mixing on the fly. And that's why one of the reasons gain staging and understanding signal flow and gain staging is so important, because if you get a drum sound, a guitar, and a bass, and then you limit the shit out of it, and then you're trying to add more stuff to it, then everything gets too tangled up and you don't have any headroom.
Yeah.
Things can kind of get fucked up that way. So understanding signal flow and gain staging, that's the reason to understand it. So you don't paint yourself into a corner.
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't have a limiter on if you're doing that. If you're arranging from the beginning and you're taking out your guitar, this is going to be a tricky one. I kind of want to work it out though. So say you're changing the voicings on your guitar and you got some low, thick voicings on the guitar and you're like, actually, I want to voice this higher. So you're now, you have less body to the guitar sound because of how you're voicing it, but because you have a limiter on, you might be getting faux body to the guitar still. It's like, we don't want that. We want the right body in the guitar determined by the guitar voicing and the sound of the guitar, not by the limiter. I mean, no one's ever chose their sonic arrangement based on a limiter. I mean, they might have, not intentionally, right? That's a by accident. Oh, there's so much compression and limiting happening. Everything has body to it. And you take it off, and it's the thinnest record you've ever heard. This is all the time.
This is something that I've run into a lot as a producer, where you write a song with an artist. I had this a while back. Write a song, get a demo together, send it pretty quickly. Then they're like, okay, we want to try a different kind of production vibe. So we do a whole different production thing. Get it together. I deliver something that sounds like a pretty finished mix. It's got, it's at a certain level, everything's really slamming. And they say, can we try adding another bass and another guitar in the chorus? Because they just want to thicken it up. And we're still in sort of production mode. We're trying things. But then all of a sudden I have to think about the gain staging, because what I've done is I basically delivered a mix. I mean, it's not a final finished mix. I would send it to John. He would do some other things to it. But it's a mix. Everything is at a certain level. Everything is popping. I have automation on there. But then it's like, okay, we're going to take this thing that's glued together in a certain way and add another significant element in the chorus. I have to actually reduce everything, if only to play a guitar and hear it properly, because I don't have any more room to go up without it just sounding super squished and super compressed. So I need to understand what I've done with my gain staging, pull everything down a bit, take the master stuff off, and then kind of rebuild. And it's annoying to think about it as like, oh, I can't just add a guitar and just go like plus guitar and then it works. But that's what you have to do. I mean, that's what you have to do as a professional record maker, and get in the habit of rebuilding things a lot of the time. I mean, you've even talked about this with mixes. If you don't get a mix quite right, which is rare, but you've done it before, you'll just save as and start from scratch again and rebuild the gain again.
Oh, I meant to say that about the Volta thing. I said, hey, I'm doing this, but if you don't like this approach, I can do a more preservative mix approach tomorrow. That was going to be the end of that comment. It's like allowing them to know this is what I'm going to mix it as though I hear the record that I think that you were going for. And if not, we can always go back to your gain staging and have a more preservative approach because I like you and fuck with you. I don't really want to do that for everybody.